Hello, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Taylor and today we'll be going through all of the books that I read in 2024 and ranking them in my little tier ranking list that I made. But before we hop in the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you love all things books. First off, yes, I am slowly adding things to this wall in the background. Right now we're putting up the CD shelves, which right now is pretty much going to be consisting of all of my Taylor Swift stuff. If you don't follow me on my music channel, go follow me there. If you like music and all things Taylor Swift, go there. But let's open up with my reading stats for the year. I'm getting all of these from StoryGraph. If you want to follow me on StoryGraph, it's always linked in the description box down below. So for the year of 2024, according to StoryGraph, I read 84 books. I read more books than that, but I won't be talking about all of those books because of certain reasons, such as the S&P boycott and so forth, not supporting that author anymore. And then we have my number of days, usually my average time to finish books was 13 days, so about 2 weeks. We love that. We love that. Some days I read in one sitting and some books took me months to read. My top moods for this year were emotional, lighthearted, and funny reads. We know she doesn't love a sad read over here. I don't go out of my way to read sad, emotional books. Well, it says emotional on here, but I don't go out of my way. I mostly read medium-paced books, and I mostly read books that were between 300 to 499 pages. So average-length books, in my opinion. I read 11% nonfiction and 89% fiction. My goal this year was to at least make sure 10% of my reads were nonfiction, and we hit that. My top 5 genres for the year were romance, very obviously, contemporary, LGBTQIA+, yes, we know that, fantasy, and sports for sports romance. So really sports, contemporary, and most of all of these could go in there. Actually, young adult was the 4th one. So it's technically young adult fantasy. And then sports crept its way up there. But yeah, we do like a good young adult. We could like good romance here. Then my top 3 most read authors were Elsie Silver, Lucy Eden, and Talia Hibbert. I mean, that could be predicted by anyone. And you'll see that when we go through the list here. And then my average rating for this year was a 4.46. I can start to feel my rating system adjust as I feel like this year, I feel like after the 2 years, I've always been a generous rater, a generous grader, if you'll say that. I feel like as I'm getting more seasoned in my reading as an adult, I have a feeling I'm going to be a little harsher this year, just can feel it in my bones, because now I have a more understanding of what my tastes are in books. And also where I've read so much stuff, I'm kind of aware of the tropes and stuff, so that can get a little repetitive. So without further ado, let's hop into tier ranking the 80+ books I read this year. Also, disclaimer, I love to read, and I tend to read in my most, offsetting. So this is the most someone's read, this isn't the least someone's read, but you shouldn't be judging people for the amount that they read, because we all read at our own pace, and we all read, in our own time. So now let's rank the books. First up, we have Sell My Soul to Read Again. These are my 6-star reads. The books that are just beyond the words that love can describe. Then the next one is In Love. These aren't quite 6-star reads, but I would still categorize them as a 5-star, 4.5-star read. It just depends on the mood for the day. Then we have the In Like books. So In Like books are books that I read, and they might make me giggle a little bit every time I think about them, but they aren't anything to write home about. Then we have our little Taylor Swift reference for the day. It isn't love, it isn't hate, it's just indifference. These are books that I read and I enjoyed at the time I read them, but if you asked me to describe them with feelings right now, I would have no feelings to give you because I'm just indifferent about their existence. Then Bored. The difference between this one and the indifference category is bored are books that when I read them, I was actively bored while reading them. Indifferent books are books that I enjoyed and wasn't bored while reading them, but have no feelings afterwards. Bored are books where I had the bored feelings during the process of reading. And then the last one is I Feel Rage When I Think About It. These are the books that the more I think about it, the more I want to lower the rating again and again and again. I will not be including any DNFs in this. I do have a whole video sort of talking about my DNFs, but if you're curious, my most enraging book that I DNF'd this year was How to Kill Men and Get Away with It by Katie Brent. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So let's hop into, these should be in order of how I read them this year, so Let's go. First up is Compacts and Cosmetics. This is a cosmetic history book about 20th century and like 19th and 20th century cosmetics. If you don't know anything about me, my undergrad is in fashion merchandising. My entire research that I did as a kid, did in high school and during my undergrad, was around cosmetic history. I have no feelings towards this because it's just cosmetic. For some reason, it's on there twice. Something did not end up here the way it was supposed to. Oh well. Then we have Take a Chance by Mieko May. I remember enjoying this while I read it. Do I remember much else about it? No. Then we have Off to the Races. I'm going to put it, is it in like or in love? I don't know. I'm going to put it in like. Billy Black, the character that she is, the introduction to Elsie Silver that I got, was amazing. How, having looked back on all of the Elsie Silver books that I've read, I don't know if she's an in love, but I definitely still enjoy, still recommend. Love Redesigned is a in like. I love most everything Lauren Asher does. Are her books getting a little long for my taste in terms of contemporary romance? Yes. But you know what? I'm invested at this point, and I'm excited because the next book to come out, I don't know what it's called. It should be coming out this year, but it's the story I've been waiting for because it's sort of the unlikable character. A Photo Finish also. Is Photo Finish in love? We do like Violet Eden. Now I'm going to put her in like. I think most of the Gold Rush Ranch series is going to fall into the in like category, just for the sheer fact we love the yeehaw cowboy vibes. It's Elsie Silver's first series that she worked on, and I'm halfway through Chestnut Springs and I have ones that I like more. The ones we've read are also in like. I'm going to have a lot of just these mid-tier categories. This is a witchy young adult book that's supposedly a Zuko Katara retelling if, it was sapphic. And it was a book that I enjoyed. The vibes at the time were great. If you just want to go into a book, a standalone fantasy that gives you witchy, just dark fantasy vibes with a touch of romance, this is for you. But I don't really find myself thinking about it too much. Financial Feminist. This is a nonfiction book, and you'll find a lot of nonfiction books end up in the It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate category, just for the sheer fact that I don't give them actual ratings. Financial Feminist. It was an audiobook I listened to about feminism and, your financials. It basically talks about how to take an activist role in planning out your finances. Kiss and Tell by Adib Karam. This is a book that I liked at the beginning, didn't necessarily love at the ending, so it's going to cancel itself out at It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate. It's Indifference. I know that his most popular work is Darius the Great Is Not Okay. So I'm curious to maybe read that this year. But this is a book about the only queer person in a 5-member boy band. And it sort of just talks about the intersectionality of trying to being queer in the public eye and sort of the problems that come around with having to be portrayed as the perfect queer or the perfect queer man. And he does have a little romance in there. Ooh, we have our first Sell My Soul to Read You Again. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. Do I have to describe it more than the title gives you? This is fun, sexy, and just a quick little romp. If you don't like erotic stories, if you don't like monster smut, this is not for you. So, then the frontrunner from Elsie Silver is my least favorite in the Gold Rush Ranch series. It is surprisingly the least favorite considering it's the morally gray character that gets redeemed there. Then we have The Homecoming War. Also, she was cute while I read it. Probably still recommend, but do I have any more feelings after the fact? No. A False Start also, False Start's probably also going to go into It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate. This one was a longer book. This one tested my Elsie Silver is the contemporary romance author that really likes to test my limits when it comes to presenting stories with age gaps. Because at the start of this book, they have a brief little moment, and she's 19 and he's in his 30s. So, definitely A False Start is the most emotional one in the series. It has a good effort moment if you're looking for that. So, Read This to Get Smarter by Blair Imani. I follow this creator on TikTok, so I wanted to listen to her little book about like describing, she's like a sociologist, queer activist, so it kind of just goes through like the introduction to like the basics of like getting acquainted with sociology and these different things that our society has ingrained in us that we should try and unlearn in that situation. Ooh, we have a book. I feel rage when I think about it. I think everyone can understand Fresh by Margot Wood. This is a young adult book that is described as sort of exploring like sex positivity and sexuality. Our main character is polysexual. Is this young adult? No, I'd probably classify it as new adult because it definitely, with exploring all of this, it's her first year in college and she's having a lot of sex. And this book is just, it was train wreck to begin with in the first half. Then something happens midway through the book that I'm just like, didn't expect you to come out the gate. And then there's just more stuff and it's just like, really is a coming of age, exploring one's sexuality for the first time, sort of like going through that freshman year of college. But the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, what were you thinking when you wrote this? And what were you thinking as a character when you went through and did all of this? So, you know what? I feel like that's a book that you're going to have to read when you're at a much younger age. Puck Shy! Kayla Gross. Kayla Gross just writes, these are her like little erotic short stories. Kayla Gross writes stories all surrounding plus size FMCs. So if you're looking for that, Puck Shy is her Valentine's Day novella following the sister of the book from Trick Shot, which was her Christmas novella, who gets together with the brother of the guy. So basically it's a sister's brother situation, separate thing. They both follow like ethical non-monogamy / polyamorous relationships. And yeah, if you want something that's, I think they're around 150 to 175 pages. They're basically just pure smut, and they're just a grand old time. But if you want pure smut that also explores polyamory and ethical non-monogamy, this is for you. And then we have the Wiener. Honestly, this one, the Wiener Across the Way. So Amy Ward, she writes also books featuring plus-size FNCs. This is an entire series that follows entire family of football players. Like all the brothers are football players, and this is the second book in the series following like kind of like the grumpy older one and like the sunshine pop star. But this is sort of a Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce insert re-situation. It's a little long for what it is. She just writes cutesy little things. Not little, they're relatively long. She just likes cutesy little stories. Is it a little bit forced in the Taylor Swift references? Yes. So if you don't want that, don't read it. But if you just want something that's on the cute side, go for it. So Let Them Burn. So this is the thing. I thought about putting So Let Them Burn in like, but the romance story that Camila Cole wrote into this book has had me thinking about it months beyond what was given to you. This book is so interesting to me. So it is a story that is centered around Jamaican mythology, and we're following Farron and her sister Alara. It's really a story about two sisters, but there is romance and war weaved into that. So you're following Farron 5 years after she has ended the war. She was deemed the chosen one, but now she's dealing with the after effects of still being the chosen one and still being a child of war, and sort of following what the next incidents that takes place that is still forcing their country, apart and everything. So she's on her way to save the one she loves, and then Alara is going out of her way to find a new path. It's just, would recommend. Also, the cover is fantastic. Then we have this is probably the book I feel the most rage when I think about it, Maybe Meant to Be by K.L. Walther. I read The Summer of Broken Rules by her the year before last, so 2023, maybe 2022. She writes Taylor Swift song-inspired young adult books. Maybe Meant to Be is a republication of her first Taylor Swift book, which was like a You Belong With Me retelling. This follows two characters, best friends, cannot remember their names, but essentially they've been best friends their whole life and everyone thinks that they're going to end up together, so they're meant to be. However, she's in love with our MMC's brother, and he's in love with a new boy on campus and hasn't quite come out as queer. So we have this book following someone who's feeling pressure from society about his queer identity, and he doesn't want to come out, and he basically, to say the coming out storyline, I feel like some of the things that were said and done were not done in the best way. Do I recommend it? I mean, I guess it really just depends. I feel like to someone who isn't queer, maybe they would enjoy this more, but I feel like if you are queer and you read it, and you need to tell me what you feel about that. Sunny Disposition by Deanna Gray. I liked Outdrawn by her. Sunny Disposition was also a good read. I feel like she's a romance author that I like her stuff, but I don't necessarily love her stuff. That's why I'm going to put it in It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate. But if you're looking for a little hockey romance, if you like an author who has queer and diverse representation, there you go. Sounds fake, but okay. This was an audiobook I listened to about two asexual podcasters sort of going through describing what it means to be asexual and like recounting anecdotes of their own discovering of their asexuality as well as other people's discovery. Then we have Out of the Blue by Jason June. Jason June. I love Jay's Gaijin is one of my favorite books of all time. And Out of the Blue, I gave 4.75 stars. It's not quite 5-star, but this one was so cute. Jason June, the author, just writes such cutesy little queer romances. In this one, we also have a non-binary main character who's also a mer person situation. It's like if you wanted a queer H2O, just add water, also aquamarine situation, this one's for you. Oh, that time I got drunk and needed a love potion and a werewolf. The entire Mead Mishap series is just going to go sell my soul to read again because I'm in love. Love. Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. This is the story that introduced me to Talia Hibbert. Having read other works by Talia Hibbert, I think it's more of an in love than a sell my soul to read again situation. But this is her YA novel following Celine and Brad. We have a bisexual FMC who also is dealing with OCD. And it's just a cute little like friends to frenemies to lovers situation. And a little academic rivals. Yes. Okay, so these are a series of Lucy Eden novels. All of Lucy Eden novellas are going in the in light category. In April, I just frankly I was in a mood for just straight palate cleanser reads. And these are all basically that. They're all insta-lovey. These last three at the end are like Fated Mates, insta-love, like let's get it on in the next like couple chapters. And then this one, what is his name? The Book Boyfriend one. These three, so this is the main novella, and these are like 2 additional novellas, are also just fun of like she runs into a guy at a bookstore who loves romance books, and then they spend a magical day together, and then they end up together. So if you don't like insta-love, these are not for you. If you like a little fated mate situation, these might be for you, but yeah. Then we have The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea by Maggie Toogood Hall. Bored. This is a book that while I was reading it, I just wasn't actively connecting to any of the characters. So I don't know if it's at the time I was reading it was the wrong time or if it's just the book itself, but I just didn't feel many feelings or any major feelings while reading it. Genderqueer. I'm not genderqueer. Genderqueer is it's a graphic memoir. So I don't rate them, but if I really, really liked nonfiction, I'll let you know. So It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate is also books that I'm probably going to be like, no rating. Genderqueer. This is a graphic novel that describes the author's experience coming out as genderqueer and just queer in general. So if you're looking for a nonfiction read that you can easily fly through, this one's for you. Also, read more banned books. This is a very popularly banned book. Forbidden Game. Listen. We have ourselves a golden retriever billionaire who's been in love with his publicist for the last 5 years, and she's just now getting around to being like, well, okay, if you are the man that you are. So yeah, I love Madison Fox. I'm excited to read this last book that just came out. I haven't gotten around to it. Fireworks, Alice Lynn. She is a cutesy little one. This one we have a bisexual FMC. This is a book, it's a young adult book that follows her. I just recently really got into K-pop, so maybe I need to read it again and like really get the vibes. So the FMC's best friend growing up, who she had a crush on, left in middle school to become a K-pop idol. And he's recently taken a break and coming back home for like the end of high school to get his bearings together. And she's just seeing him for the first time. And you know, things ensue after there. Mooncakes. She's in love. Mooncakes is a sweet queer, like, graphic novel following a witch and a werewolf. And they, they are in love. It's just really cute, really sweet, very cozy. The Grimoire of Grave Fates is it is a series of short stories from 18 different characters' point of views, trying to basically go through the day as the people in this like magical witchy school are trying to discover who killed the campus's least favorite professor. So if you want a story that gives you Hogwarts vibes but is trans inclusive, this one is for you. Napkins and Other Distractions by M.A. Wardell. This is the final novel in the Teacher in Love story. And this one is interesting because not only do we have a bisexual male main character, we have queer men over the age of 40 falling in love, having a second chance at romance. We also do have a main character dealing with OCD. Woo! All the Lies and Painted All Red. The final books in the Mindfuck series. So All the Lies is my absolute favorite in that series. If you haven't read it, are the first 3 books, 3 novellas in the year prior, and then these last 2 in this past year, 2024. This follows Lana Myers, who is a serial killer seeking revenge on all the men who have wronged her, while she's also engaging in a romance with the FBI agent on her case. And let's just say, the ending, superb. And that's really all I have to say about that. I would love to reread that book. A Diary of Blood. I was bored while reading it. I gave it 4 stars because for what it is, it's superbly written. I was bored the entire time reading it. Love Unwritten. Okay, to be fair, I don't know. Love Unwritten is one of my lower rated Lauren Asher books. She falls maybe like, she's one of my lower rated Lauren Asher books. It's good. I love me a musician FMC. I know I'm not the one who gets all mad about singing and lyrics in a book. Sometimes it's cringe to me, sometimes it isn't. But I love a little musician in there. And Ratha, he's great. I just think we took a long time to get to a point there. Also, Lauren Asher said this was a slow burn book, and I should have read that. And we know how I feel about slow burns. If it takes too long to get to a point, my brain will be like bored. Dread Nation. Oh, she's going to go in the in love category. I got the second book in this series for Christmas, and I'm so excited. This answers the question of what would happen if during the American Civil War, the zombie apocalypse happened, and you're following the aftermath of that in the 1880s post-Civil War Reconstruction era. Then we have The Boyfriend subscription. She Was a Cutesy Little Time. It's a queer, pretty woman retelling. It's super insta-lovey, so if that's not your vibe, don't check it, but she was a cute, little, sweet time. Silver Fox by Kayla Gross. This is basically similar to Puck Shy, another plus-size FMC. She is staying at her parents' little beach house or lake house for the weekend, and unbeknownst to her, her dad also offered that up to his employee. So there's an age gap. It's not as icky age gap because she's 30 and he's 45. But yeah, it's super smutty and super just, easy read. One Dark Window. So One Dark Window and then Two Twisted Crowns, if I can get it, are going into the in. You know what? Actually, One Dark Window goes in like, and then Two Twisted Crowns goes to in. Well, I'm just going to put them together. I'm not ranking these in their tiers for some reason. It's just putting them up the front there. This was a series that I was like, the entire first 50% of One Dark Window, I'm reading this, I'm like, I don't know how I feel. And then the ending happened, and I'm like, excuse me? The romance took place? Yes. And then Two Twisted Crowns takes a whole unexpected turn from where we thought it was going to go. And I just have to put it there because the author she knew what she was doing. Woo! Play Long, Play Long. Play Long is not my favorite book in the series. But the Windy City series is one of my absolute favorite series of all time. So would I sell my soul to read any of the books again? Absolutely. Maybe not Mile High. Well, maybe. And then this is also a good one. Where is it? Was it That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human? it ended up in somewhere where it wasn't supposed to. There it is. That time I think it's that time I got drunk and saved a human. Yes, the entire series. The entire Mead Mishap series. Do recommend. Go read it. A Whole Song and Dance by Sarvanez Tash. I was just bored while reading it. I might have started this in the midst of a slump, so that could be why. But I was just bored while reading it. But if you have an inner theater kid in yourself, this one might be for you. Vampires Never Get Old. In Love. In Love. It's just a series of vampire stories. If you've watched this show, First Kill on Netflix, the last novella in this little collection inspired it. So, every time you hear that song. Okay, did I give this 5 stars? Yes. I'm going to leave it in love just because I think the reason it got 5 stars is because of circumstances. And if I were to reread it again, I don't know if it would necessarily hold up to 5 stars. But for the moment and time and place that it was read, there. If you're looking for like queer, sapphic Dolly Parton, I feel like this one's for you. It's also young adult. Then we have Cross the Line by Simone Saltani. This is going to go in the In Light category. This is her first, I think it's her debut novel. It's an F1 racing romance featuring brothers' best friend trope. We have 2 biracial main characters, and then an interracial couple as well. And then we have a FMC who is dealing with disability. It's cute. It was a little long for what it is, but I always say this is the one with the epilogue that gave me the most whiplash ever. So, look forward to that. And how she decided to go about the structure in the series, I was surprised by. You Had Me at Happy Hour by Timothy Janofsky. She was a like, not a love. We have 2 MMCs who are opposites. So like one is super grumpy, one is super sunshine, but they're both dealing with mental health issues. And then they kind of strike up a frenemies with benefit situation, and more goes for there. Then we have All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. Let's just go ahead and say this is my #1 nonfiction of the year. This is his young adult memoir describing his life growing up in America as Black and queer, basically from the moment he was born up until his college years, and do a little bit into his 30s when he wrote this. Then One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. Olivia Blake, the author that you are, you do beautiful prose. It does take me forever to get through it, but I'm just going to say, you had me hooked on Sasha and Lev for a strong minute the first time I read it. That Self-Same Metal by Brittany N. Williams. Listen, top read of the year. I have the second book on my shelves right now, ready to go and read. This is a young adult book inspired by Shakespearean stories. You have a bisexual FMC who in a little bit of a polyamorous situation going on, and it's just a fun time. It is a little more gory than I was expecting for a YA novel, but whoo, she was grand. She was great. Snow Globe by So Young Park. I saw this all over everything. The cover, beautiful. This is as far as I know, it was a very popular sci-fi novel, young adult novel, published in Korea. It's just, the more I read this book, the more I'm like, why? Like the first two-thirds of that book really is just straight character building, plot, describing the world. However, we were describing the world and building characters, but yet I feel like by the end of the book, I didn't know most of the characters. And the ending, while it was a big, wild ride of an ending, I'm just like, I feel like an editor needed to come in and comb through this a little bit for plot's sake. I think this is a story that would be better told via a television show than a novel. Because I feel like on TV, we would get to see things played out and be more intrigued, whereas sometimes straight description can get a little boring. Get a Life, Chloe Brown is going in Sell My Soul. Sell My Soul. We loved Holly Hibbert. This story, yes. Queer Villains of Myth and Legend. She was cutesy. She was fun. She's going in It Isn't Love, It Isn't Hate. It's just a little audiobook I listened to about queer villains and myths and legends. Take a Hint, Danny Brown is in the In Love category. I didn't quite give her 5 stars. Why? I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't the moment at the time, but I didn't quite give her 5 stars. Then we have Exes and Foes by Amanda Woody. She's an in-love situation here. This is a book that surprised me out the gate. We have two, like, multi-sexual, like, main characters. One who's demisexual, biromantic. One who's bisexual, biromantic. And they were once friends, and then feelings got in the way, and then they're like, halt, separate. And then they've got their eyes on this new person in town. They're both like, I want them. So they strike up a deal to be like, whoever can get them to kiss us first gets. And then, you know, things ensue. However, the reason it's not in love is because by the end I'm like, could we just stop putting trauma in for trauma's sake sometimes? After Age, Eve Brown is my favorite book in the series, and I just love these two main characters. Eve, we love you. I am the eldest sister, so do I relate to Chloe a little more? Yes. But Eve, and I think his name is Jacob. It starts with a J. The man that you are. I'm in love with him. She was just fun. Icebreaker. Tisn't love, it isn't. I'm tempted to put it in bored. I was bored. Yeah. It is a YA hockey romance that deals with a bisexual male main character who's struggling with coming out, also dealing with heavy depression. So, yeah. Should I have read this given my history of depression? Maybe not. Did it maybe possibly affect me a little? Yes. Is it mostly because it's more of a depressing read that I was a little bored? Maybe. But it's not like I wouldn't recommend it. I just think it wasn't the book for me. Assistant to the Villain. She was a book that I was in love with. She's a grand old little time. Evie, the girl that you are. I'm so invested in this romance. And then while we're on that, Apprentice to the Villain is in like, because you know what I say about slow burn romances and lots of miscommunications? Just talk to each other. Talk to each other. Yes, I enjoy the plot. Yes, I enjoy Evie. Did I see everything that was going to happen from a mile away in Apprentice to the Villain? Absolutely. A Bond Me for Two. She was a cute. She is a debut novel following these two girls. One is the daughter of Vietnamese immigrants, and the other one is living in Vietnam. And they are brought together when, I can't remember, when one of them comes in for a school trip to Vietnam, and they are on the hunt to sort of discover things about themselves. Our Secret Moments was such a cute little read. It's a little bit Taylor Swift inspired. I have to give my props to this author because she wrote this book and debuted it at like 18. So if you want like a cutesy football romance, new adult, this one's for you. Honey Bloods. I was bored while reading it. It's supposed to be like a YA Jennifer Spotty's retelling situation, like 3 novella series. But I got what I wanted out of the first book, and frankly, I'm just like, not invested in this romance, and I'm not invested in her good for her moment. Bloodmarked, Tracy Dion. You know I'm going to sell my soul to read that again. Especially when, book Oathbound comes out this year. And it ends, oh God. Bloodmarked, if you haven't read Legendborn, it's one of my favorite books of all time. And Bloodmarked is the sequel, and we're just the romance that develops. Flawless Chestnut Springs. Chestnut Springs is an in love series. Chestnut Springs is just a series that we... Listen, the first book, she's cute, she's sweet. Heartless, surprisingly enough, I think I actually... Heartless? Let's see, where is it? Heartless, also in love. Kate Eaton, the mouth that you have. I was not quite expecting that, but... And then, Powerless. There's just something about a childhood friends to lover situation that will do it for me every time. She was 5 stars. The first book is like a workplace forced proximity romance that's really just like a fun one. Heartless is single daddy ex-nanny. We've got Grumpy Sunshine. We've got Age Gap. And then Powerless is also Age Gap, but it's childhood friends to lovers situation. We've got forced proximity. Whoo! I was ready to cry and scream and kick and giggle and all that reading Powerless. So I think we'll go Powerless, Heartless, Flawless. Maybe Powerless, Flawless, Heartless for me right now, but Chestnut Springs, I do believe, is superior to Gold Rush Ranch. Daydream. I love the Maple Hills series. Icebreaker is what got me into it. However, looking back on it, I think Daydream is second to Wildfire for me right now. Hallie, girl, the things that you went through, I relate to so much. You may not be the oldest sibling, but you are eldest daughter in the... And then Henry, we just love Henry. The man that you are, the things that you do. I will just ride for that. Do check your triggerings. Nick and Charlie. And then this winter are just cute little Heartstopper novellas following our favorite characters. We know I love Heartstopper. And yeah, bye. This is a audiobook I listened to all about by Julia Fox. Not Julia Fox. Julia something. Who just is a bisexual researcher, and it's describing all the science, history, and culture surrounding bisexuality. Then we have Anna Dressed in Blood. She was cute. If you like Scooby-Doo, I feel like the vibes here would be great for you. We are following a ghost hunter. Would I have enjoyed it more had I not been in a months-long reading slump when I read it? Most likely. Wicked Serve, the final book in this little interconnected standalone series by Grace Riley. She was fine. She was cute. I will forever link this book to being absolutely sick out of my mind with the flu in a hotel room in Nashville when I read it. So that could have affected that, but she was fine. Cruel Winter with You. Oh my god. I rarely ever say this, but I think I might sell... no. Would I sell my soul to read this Christmas novella again? Yeah, probably, because it was just great. It was fantastic. Absolutely love. We've got a little childhood friends to misunderstanding to lover situation. Mistletoe. She was a cutesy little holiday romance in the Mean Mishap series. Read this one after book 1 if you want to get the story, the lore. But she was also cute. She was spicy. The Nightmare Before Christmas is an in-like. This book had the most swoon-worthy romantic lines and thoughts I've ever read, but yet left me somehow the most frustrated in terms of plot that I could ever imagine. So in-like she is. I'm also very curious to see the next book. Mary Inkmas. We love Talia Hibbert. She is not sell my soul to read again. But if you want hot tattoo artist boss who's just very grumpy, very rich, that one's for you. And it's a little holiday read. Then My December Darling. I'm going to put her in the in-like category, but the fact that she gave me someone named Dr. Darling will forever live in my head, rent-free. So that is all the books that we are going to go through in today's video. So those are all of the books that I read in the year of 2024. Let me know what your favorite book was. If you disagree with me, let me know how you would rank some of these books. And I'll see y'all in the next video.